The laughter echoed across the bright glass lobby, sharp and careless, cutting through the quiet like shattered crystal. It was daytime, sunlight pouring through towering windows, yet the sound felt cold, humiliating, final. People stopped walking. Heads turned. And in the center of that moment stood a poor girl, thin shoulders tense, eyes wide, as a billionaire's laughter rang in her ears, and the impossible number he had thrown at her seemed to crush the air itself. If you believe stories like this matter, if you believe kindness deserves second chances, take a moment right now to like this video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support keeps stories of compassion alive. Her name was Blair Holloway, and that morning had begun like every other morning in her small rented room, washed in pale daylight and quiet desperation. The sun had crept through a cracked curtain as she sat on the edge of her bed, counting coins laid out on a notebook, her fingers trembling slightly. Every coin represented a choice between food, rent, or bus fare. She had chosen the bus because today mattered more than comfort. Today, she was stepping into a world that had never made space for someone like her. She wore a clean but faded dress, shoes polished thin from years of use, and carried a worn canvas bag that held everything she owned that felt important. Inside it was not money or luxury, but knowledge, sketches, and a hope she refused to bury. Blair had grown up fixing things. Broken fans, cracked radios, jammed sewing machines. Her mother had worked long hours at a laundry shop, coming home exhausted, hands raw, trusting her daughter to make small miracles happen. When something broke, Blair did not see failure. She saw patterns, reasons, solutions. Even after her mother passed, that instinct stayed with her. It became her way of surviving, of believing she still mattered. When she learned about Arden Voss, the billionaire known for his towering ego and sprawling technology empire, she also learned about the problem everyone whispered about, but no one could solve. His flagship daytime energy system, a public solar project meant to power half the city, had been failing. Engineers failed. Consultants failed. Millions were bleeding away under the bright sun. Blair studied. She spent nights under a flickering bulb, teaching herself advanced systems from discarded manuals and online scraps. She found the flaw others missed, not because she was smarter, but because she had learned to listen to broken things. And when she realized she might be right, she did something terrifying. She walked into Voss Tower in the middle of the day, into a place where people like her were never supposed to belong. The lobby smelled like polish and power. Blair waited for hours, ignored, judged, measured by eyes that saw her clothes before her courage. When she finally stood before Arden Voss, the man was exactly as she imagined. Tall, confident, untouched by doubt. His smile carried amusement rather than curiosity. As she explained her idea, his laughter rose, effortless and cruel, filling the sunlit space. He tossed out the challenge like a joke, saying he would give her 100 million if she fixed his problem, knowing she would fail. To him, it was entertainment. To Blair, it was everything. The shock froze her not because of the money, but because he had not even considered that she could succeed. People around them smirked. Security shifted closer. Blair's face burned, but she did not walk away. She asked for one chance. One day, 1 hour inside the system room. Her voice did not shake, even though her knees wanted to. Something in her refusal to disappear caught Arden's attention. He waved his hand, granting permission out of boredom, not belief. Under the bright hum of machines, Blair worked while the sun climbed higher. She traced wires, recalculated flows, adjusted alignments that others had overlooked because they were not profitable enough to notice. She did not rush. She listened. Sweat formed at her temples, but her hands were steady. Engineers watched with folded arms, waiting for failure. Arden observed from a distance, checking his watch, already mentally spending the next hour on lunch. Then something changed. The monitors stabilized. Power levels balanced. The system stopped fighting itself. Light across the panels grew consistent, strong, alive. Silence fell, broken only by the steady rhythm of success. Blair stepped back, exhausted, heart pounding. She had done it. Not perfectly, not magically, but honestly. Arden Voss stared at the screens, disbelief tightening his expression. For the first time in years, the problem that had mocked his money bowed to something else. Skill, patience, care. He walked closer, studying Blair not as a joke anymore, but as a question. The laughter was gone. In its place was something unfamiliar. Respect, tinged with shame. The news spread quickly, bathed in daylight headlines and whispered admiration. Blair Holloway, the girl no one saw, had fixed what millions could not. Arden kept his word. The money was transferred, but what changed him more was watching Blair stand there, still wearing the same faded dress, still more concerned about whether the system would help people than about the wealth she now possessed. She asked questions about community access, about affordable energy, about jobs for those who had been ignored like her. The billionaire who had laughed began to listen. Blair did not become reckless with her fortune. She paid her debts, secured a simple home, and then poured the rest into learning, building, and giving. She funded training centers in daylight neighborhoods where power cuts were once normal. She hired people who had been told they were not good enough. Her name never shone brighter than the work itself. Arden watched from afar, changed not by loss, but by example. He began funding projects not for praise, but for impact. The girl who shocked him had repaired more than a system. She had exposed a crack in his world, and light had entered. Years later, people would speak of that day in the sunlit lobby as a turning point. Not because of the money, but because a poor girl had stood still instead of stepping back, had believed in her worth when laughter tried to erase it. Blair would remember the shock, the heat, the fear, and she would smile softly, knowing that dignity sometimes arrives disguised as humiliation. If this story reached you, if it stirred something inside your heart, please take a moment now to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your engagement helps these stories travel further than money ever could. And before the ending, we have a special request for you. Comment below with the word believe if you think kindness can change even the hardest hearts to in the end. The brightest thing that day was not the power system or the fortune exchanged, but the simple truth revealed under daylight skies. That greatness does not always wear expensive suits, that laughter can turn into silence when courage stands firm, and that sometimes, the ones the world underestimates are the very ones who know how to fix what is truly broken.